5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive actives karma kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Hare Krishna. I would like to welcome all of you to this Bhakti Sangha session. May I know who are joining the call today?
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudeva. Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. And to all the assembled devotees, this is Megha from Libreville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining the conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinta Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinta Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Mataji.
Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Radha.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Devi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashomati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there anyone who would like to introduce in the call today?
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devidasi from Lincoln.
Hare Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. This is Anita Ramya from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My Dandavat Pranam to you and to all assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. This is Pooja Thoda from Haridwar.
Hare Krishna, Puja Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. This is Kamati Kidasi from Baltimore. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
How are you, Mataji?
Getting better.
I thought you went to Vrindavan.
I wanted to, but because I cannot sit so long, so the flight from here to there, it's so long.
Yeah, You did not join in between, that's why I was worried.
Yeah, because I had, and then moved the other now.
Yeah.
Because, so now it was so much long. And then finally my son set up this computer. So now I can join.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please take care, Mataji.
I'm taking care this way. Mostly taking rest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept humble instances. All goes to Prabhupada, all goes to all the Guru Maharaj, all goes to each and every devotee of Bhakti Sangha, because all you are all from Vaikuntha Loka. Hare Krishna. Dhanavad Pranam.
Sukakar Prabhuji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. This is Sushmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Susmita Mataji, Dandavas Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Assembly. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay. I welcome all of you once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are really fortunate to have His Grace. Today we are really fortunate to have His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhu ji to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam from 6.3.5 onwards. Hare Krishna Prabhu ji, you are there on the call, Prabhu ji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu ji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time and association regularly in this Bhakti Sangha. We are really fortunate to hear from you on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. I hand over the call to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatir Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from 6th canto, chapter 3, verse number 5. Yadisyur Bahavo Loke Shastaro Dandadarina Kasya Syatam Navakasya Mrityushchamrutam Evava. word-to-word translation. Yadi, if few there are, Bhagavaha, many, Loke, in this world, Shastaraha, rulers or controllers, Dandadarinaha, who punish the sinful men, Kasya, of whom, Syatam, there may be, Na, not, Va, or Kasya, of whom, Mrityuhu, distress or unhappiness, Cha, and Amrutam, happiness, Eva, certainly, Va, or translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. If in this universe there are many rulers and justices who disagree about the punishment and reward, their contradictory actions will neutralize each other and no one will be punished or rewarded. Otherwise, if their contradictory acts fail to neutralize each other, everyone will have to be both punished and rewarded. Purport. Because the Yamadutas had been unsuccessful in carrying out the order of Yamaraj, they doubted whether Yamaraj actually had the power to punish the sinful. Although they had gone to arrest Ajamal following Yamaraj's order, they found themselves unsuccessful because of the order of some higher authority. Therefore, they were unsure of whether there were many authorities or only one. If there were many authorities who gave different judgments, which could be contradictory, a person might be wrongly punished or wrongly rewarded, or he might be neither punished nor rewarded. According to our experience in the material world, a person punished in one court may appeal to another. Thus, the same man may be either punished or rewarded according to different judgments. However, in the law of nature or the court of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there cannot be such a contradictory judgments. The judges and their judgments must be perfect and free from contradictions. Actually, the position of Yamaraj was very awkward in the case of Ajamal, because the Yamadutas were right in attempting to arrest Ajamal, but the Vishnudutas had baffled them. Although Yamaraj, under these circumstances, was accused by both the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas, he is perfect in administering justice because he is empowered with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he will explain what his real position is and how everyone is controlled by the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Yadisyur Bahavo Loke Shastaro Dandadharinaha Kasya Syatam Navakasya Mrityuschamrutameva. The words we are reading. So in this chapter, this chapter began with the question of Parishit Maharaj. In one sense, the Ajamal episode ended the second chapter. Ajamal's perfection, he went to Haridwar and performed the bhakti for 12 years, how he perfected his life. And it was concluded in the second chapter. But the third chapter, Parishit Maharaj is raising a question. So therefore, based on that, this episode is being narrated for one more chapter. So in the third chapter, Parishit Maharaj asked that when the Yamadutas went to meet Yamaraj, what did actually Yamaraj say to his servants? That was the question asked by Parishit Maharaj. So in this chapter, the statements of the servants of Vishnu are confirmed by the statements of Yamaraj. So Yamadutas reported to Yamaraj whatever happened. But Shukdev Goswami did not reply what Yamaraj replied to the Yamadutas. Therefore, Parishit Maharaj is asking this. So, like in this world, when there is a master who has a very materialistic ego, when his order is actually thwarted by somebody, then that master will take action against the person who acted against his order. So materialistic master will take action against the Vishnudutas because his false ego would be hurt. But here, how Yamaraj is responding, that we will see in this chapter. So Sridhar Swami also says that like the case of the Munis, when one Muni expresses a certain opinion, the other Muni will reply in a way that it disagrees with the other Muni's opinion. Because the Munis are the speculative thinkers, they want to ensure that their opinion is different from the opinion of the other Munis. But in the case of the Vaishnavas, when one Vaishnava is speaking, establishing a certain principle from the Shastra, the other Vaishnava will actually further strengthen that same conclusion and not cut it down. So that is what we will see in this chapter. Yamaraj further strengthens the same conclusion given by the Vishnudutas. So Parishit Maharaj said that previously it was never heard that anybody can actually act against the punishment of Yamaraj. The punishment of Yamaraj can be avoided. It is unheard of. So therefore, kindly actually clarify this doubt. Other than you, nobody can eradicate this doubt. So Yamaraj is the great authority in this material world. He is the supreme judge in the material world. But Vishnudutas, they do not belong to the material world. They belong to Vaikunta. So although the Vishnudutas, they gave their verdict that how Ajamil is sinless, but Vishnudutas is not a recognized authority within the material world, especially for the Yamadutas who are not aware who the Vishnudutas are. But Yamadutas recognize the authority of Yamaraj within the material world. So therefore, Yamadutas want to know the opinion of Yamaraj in this incident. So what Yamaraj says about that whole incident is important for the people of the material world, especially here for the Yamadutas. So suppose, say in your temple, somebody comes from another country, comes and gives a class, and then he gives certain comments about the certain policies or the way certain things are being carried out in your temple. You may hear that, but then after that person goes, you would want to know, because that person who came and spoke, you just heard him for the first time. You never met him. You never had the experience of dealing with him regularly. That person came suddenly from some other country and then spoke in some Bhagavatam class something about the way, gave some comments about how it should not be done in this way. Or he gave certain opinion which you never heard. So after that person goes, you would want to clarify with some local authority with whom you have the faith. So similarly, Yamadutas are in the same position. They heard from Vishnudutas, but Vishnudutas are strangers to them. So therefore, they want to confirm from Yamaraj about the whole incident. And Parishit Maharaj is asking this question because Parishit Maharaj could see that some of the people present in that assembly, they also had doubts. How can simply by chanting Narayana, a person can be saved? Parishit Maharaj could actually perceive the doubts of the people present in that assembly. Therefore, he is also asking the question on behalf of the others. And Shukadeva Goswami says that Yamadutas reached the abode of Yamaraj, the Samyamani. Yamadutas were greatly angry. Yamadutas were thinking that if the common people hear this incident, the story of Ajamil, people will think that sinful people do not go to hell. And this will encourage the common people to commit more sins. So Yamadutas, therefore, they were very angry and they want to clarify with Yamaraj. And when they came to Yamaraj, they said that how many Kati Santiha Shastaro Jiva Lokasya Vai Prabhu Traividyam Kurvata Karma Falabi Vyakti Hetava. How many controllers of the Jivas are there in the world? Who are the causes of manifesting results for action for the Jivas performing action in the three gunas? So Yamadutas were so angry that they did not even offer respects to Yamaraj. They did not offer formal respects. They directly started asking the question. Usually, there's a first in etiquette. First, when you meet a master, you first offer respects to him, and then after that person is comfortably seated, then you start asking questions. Yudhishthira, when Vidura returned to Hastinapur, Yudhishthira Maharaj received Vidura. He actually received him. He gave proper place for him to sit for his accommodation. And then after he is comfortably situated, then he asked Vidura about his travels. But Yamadutas are immediately asking this question: how many controllers are there? Yamaraj says, if there are too many controllers, what is the problem? So Yamadutas were in a disturbed state of mind. So Yamaraj therefore they did not offer obeisances. Yamaraj also could understand the disturbed state of mind of the Yamadutas. Therefore, Yamaraj also did not become angry with the Yamadutas. When Shrikanta Sen saw when there was when the devotees from Bengal were going to Puri for the yatra, there was some delay in Shivananda Sen paying some toll in the toll booth. So Nityananda Prabhu was slightly delayed. He had to wait at a particular place. And then later when Shivananda Sen came and begged forgiveness to Nityananda Prabhu, even before that, he said that, oh, Shivananda Sen is actually making us wait. He said that let his sons die. It is something like just for some delay in the yatra. Nityananda Prabhu exhibited transcendental whimsical behavior. Whimsical behavior means a person behaves in a very illogical manner. But Nityananda Prabhu exhibited transcendental whimsical behavior. He said that the sons of Shivananda Sen should die. And on hearing that, Shivananda Sen's wife started crying. And later when Shivananda Sen came to meet Nityananda Prabhu kicked at Shivananda Sen. But Shivananda Sen accepted that kick of Nityananda Prabhu with great gratitude. So I am so fortunate to get the dust of your lotus feet. And today you have accepted me as your master because you are actually chastising me, you are punishing me. But like Shivananda Sen, like sometimes Shivananda Sen actually, he had such a deep faith in Nityananda Prabhu, especially to put faith in the whimsical behavior of the Guru or the great devotees. That requires real deep faith. But Shrikanta Sen, he could not appreciate this behavior of Nityananda Prabhu. Shrikanta Sen is a nephew of Shivananda Sen. So therefore, he left the yatra party and he went ahead and he came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And normally, when you would come to meet a great personality, you would remove the upper cloth and then come to meet. Like in the South India, like traditionally it would be the same culture would be there in all the temples. When the men would actually visit the temple, they would remove their upper cloth. Even in Kerala, this culture is still being followed. They remove the upper cloth, men, and then they go take darshan of the Lord. But Shrikanta Sen, without removing the upper cloth, he actually came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Govinda immediately corrected Shrikanta Sen. Why are you offering obeisances without removing the upper cloth? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately corrected Govinda. No, do not actually say anything to him because he is in a disturbed state of mind. So similarly, Yamaraj could understand the Yamadutas are in a disturbed state of mind. Therefore, although the Yamadutas did not offer obeisances to him, Yamaraj did not correct them. And then the Yamadutas are saying that Yadisyur Bhagavo Loke Shastaro Dandadarinaha Kasya Syatam Navakasya Mrityus Chamratam Eva. If there are many controllers who will carry out the punishment, then who will award the results for sin and piety and who will not? So the problem with many authorities is that sometimes the authorities may disagree and sometimes they may agree. So when they disagree, suppose one authority gives punishment, another authority gives reward, then which one will be awarded to the candidate? So when there is a disagreement, then because there are opposite judgments, no one will award the results. Or both things will be awarded. Person will be punished as well as rewarded. Or one will be neither punished nor rewarded. Suppose if there is an agreement between the authorities, then both will want to give the judgment, then the person will be rewarded twice, or the person will be punished twice. Then an award cannot be given twice, or a punishment cannot be given twice. So in this way, these confusions will come. So now, like when there are multiple authorities, there can be confusions. But of course, there is another side point that sometimes there is an advantage of the multiple authorities. A few months back, when I had gone to Kashmir, I was interacting with one BSF officer, and then I was just asking him, but when the BSF started, what is the role of BSF and what is the role of army? So that time he mentioned that army and BSF practically have the same training, and army is also in the border and BSF is also in the border security force. Then I asked, like, what is the need of actually two different forces? Why can't they be merged? Then he mentioned an interesting thing. He said, why the separate force BSF was created? He said, it is not there in any books, but there is an unspoken truth. Unspoken truth is that, unspoken reason is that the neighboring country Pakistan, time and again there are like coup by the military. Military had made a coup and then overthrown the democratically elected government, and then military have many times have ruled the country. Or even when there is a democratically elected government in Pakistan, it is practically a puppet under the army actually. They basically have to follow the dictates of the army. So army is the one which is actually ruling the country. So they saw that in India that from the Pakistan that sometimes there is only one powerful force like army, then practically it will be like the army can make a coup and then overthrow the government at some time. Or even when the government is there, army is only dictating the government. So it can be like a dictatorial rule. So therefore, taking lessons from the neighboring country, they decided to create another force which is like a parallel to the army. Suppose if there is a coup by the army, if they take over the government, so there is another parallel line of authority coming from border security force who can actually stand against the army. Something like that. That officer was giving this unspoken way. But of course, this is a point why I'm mentioning is that normally when there are multiple authorities, definitely there is confusion, especially when the multiple authorities give opposite judgments. Then which judgment to be implemented? But this is a side point that how sometimes there is a need of multiple authorities. There is an advantage of that also, because sometimes when there is only one authority, is that he can misuse his power. So in order to counteract that influence, there can be another parallel authority, sometimes they may desire. But anyway, coming back here, so Prabhupada says in the purport, Yamaraj is in a very awkward position because Yamaraj is accused by both the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas. In the previous chapter beginning, the Vishnudutas accused the Yamaraj. Common people have put faith in Yamaraj, but this Yamaraj is committing a breach of trust on the common people. He is giving punishment to sinless people. So Vishnudutas questioned, accused Yamaraj, and now the Yamadutas are also questioning Yamaraj. In that way, Yamaraj was very awkward in the case of Ajamal, because Yamadutas were right in attempting to arrest Ajamal. So Yamaraj is going to explain his real position and how everyone is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if we see the difference between Ajamal and the Yamadutas, Ajamal, he chanted the holy name before meeting the Yamadutas. And Ajamal, after hearing the conversation between the Vishnudutas and Yamadutas, then also he chanted the holy name. But the difference between the chanting before and after is that before hearing the conversation, Ajamal chanted the holy name by referring to his son before he met the Yamadutas. But after hearing the conversation, he started the chanting the holy name with love and attention. So before the conversation, Ajamal's chanting was in the stage of Nama Bhasa. But after hearing that conversation between the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas, Ajamal's chanting was Shuddha Nama. Shuddha Nama chanting. And Ajamal and the Yamadutas, both of them heard the glories of the holy name from the Vishnudutas. Ajamal was completely transformed by it. But Yamadutas were not transformed because Yamadutas did not hear in the submissive mood. They heard in a challenging mood. But Ajamal heard in a submissive mood because Ajamal was saved by the Vishnudutas. Yamadutas considered the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration. They did not believe in the statements of the Vishnudutas. That is why they are coming in this chapter and they want to hear about the opinion of the Yamaraj. The Yamadutas, even after hearing the pure glories of the holy name from the pure devotees, Vishnudutas, they were still very angry. So much so, they wanted the they wanted the Vishnudutas to be punished by the Yamaraj. That was the consciousness of the Yamadutas. Because they felt that Vishnudutas have stopped them from taking away Ajamal. But on the other hand, Yamaraj heard just only the word Narayana from the Yamadutas. But just for the first time in his life, the word Narayana was actually heard by Yamaraj in that assembly. And by hearing that, Yamaraj was greatly pleased, because throughout his life, Yamaraj had only heard in his assembly only the topics related to crime. Oh, this person committed 5 robbery, this person committed 6 rapes, this person he cheated so many people. Oh, this person should be taken to Kumbhipaka Hill, this person to Raurava Hill, this person to Asipatravana Hill. Only these topics were discussed. For the first time, he heard the name Narayana. And the Yamadutas were, Yamaraj was greatly pleased just by hearing the word Narayana. But Yamadutas heard the full-fledged glories of the holy name from the Yamaraj, from the Vishnudutas, but they wanted the Vishnudutas to be punished by Yamaraj. So we see, because Yamaraj's internal consciousness is filled with devotion to the Supreme Lord, just hearing that word Narayana is sufficient to awaken his devotion to the Supreme Lord. But Yamadutas, because their internal consciousness was not filled with devotion to Supreme Lord Narayan, even though they heard the full-fledged glories of the holy name, but their devotion was not awakened. If you compare a petrol and a banana tree, petrol, a slight spark is sufficient to make that petrol into a blazing fire. But a banana tree is filled with so much of water internally. Even when the banana tree comes in contact with a blazing fire, banana tree will not actually catch fire. Yamadutas, they had only experienced the managerial aspect of Yamaraj in their life. Yamadutas, they had never experienced the devotional aspect of Yamaraj in their life. Therefore, because they never experienced the devotional aspect of Yamaraj, therefore, they did not know about the glories of the Bhagavata Dharma. And they never got to hear Bhagavata Dharma from Yamaraj. So therefore, they made a mistake in the case of the Ajamal. So Yamadutas, they heard the glories of the holy name from the Vishnudutas, and now they are going to hear about the glories of the Bhagavata Dharma from the Yamaraj in this chapter. So both Vishnudutas and Yamaraj, both are pure devotees, but the Yamadutas were transformed only after hearing from Yamaraj. When they heard from Vishnudutas, they were having a grudge towards the speaker, because they felt that Vishnudutas had stopped them in taking away Ajamal. Only their ears were open, but their hearts were not open to what Vishnudutas spoke. So because their hearts were not open, they were not convinced even after hearing from the Vishnudutas. So when we are hearing from a speaker, when we are meditating on the faults of the speaker, then whatever the speaker speaks will not register in our mind. So even if the speaker has committed certain mistakes, but when the speaker is sitting on the Vyasasana, we should not keep meditating on the faults of the speaker outside the Vyasasana. We should actually focus on the essential truth he is speaking in the Vyasasana, from the Vyasasana. And from the point of view of the speaker, one should understand that if I have to make the audience assimilate my message, then I should also have the right conduct and behavior outside the Vyasasana. Because when a speaker of the Bhagavatam, when they have the right conduct and behavior outside the Vyasasana, and that creates actually faith in the people to hear from him. So this person has a good behavior, is living, he has a proper conduct. And then when the person who is having the proper conduct and behavior outside the Vyasasana, when he speaks even few words in the Vyasasana, then the audience will actually easily assimilate it, they will immediately accept it, because they know that this person has a quality of integrity. So this also we can see that why the Vishnu Dutas, they could not actually accept the statements of the Yamadutas. Why they could not accept the statements of the Vishnu Dutas? But the same Yamadutas, when they heard the same glories of the Bhagavad Dharma from the Yamaraj, then they accepted it. So there are three effects of the holy name: Drishta Phala, Adrishta Phala, and Drishta Adrishta Phala. So sometimes the effects of the holy name is directly visible, Drishta Phala. Sometimes the effect of the holy name is Adrishta Phala. It is not directly visible. And sometimes the effects of the holy name are both Drishta and Adrishta Phala. So in the case of the Ajamil, Ajamil could directly witness the effect of the holy name, in the sense that Vishnu Dutas, they came in front of his eyes and stopped the Yamadutas. They came in front of his eyes and stopped the Yamadutas. So therefore, this Ajamil's case, this comes under the category of Drishta Phala. Draupadi also chanted the holy name of Krishna in the Asat Sabha. And Krishna did not directly come and saved Draupadi. Krishna incarnated as a sari and protected Draupadi's but in one sense, just like the Vishnu Dutas directly came and Ajamil could directly see the Vishnu Dutas in front of his eyes, but Draupadi could not directly see Krishna in front of her eyes. But Krishna did came in the form of a sari and protected Draupadi. That is why later, when Krishna meets the Pandavas in the forest, Draupadi asked Krishna, my husbands did not give me protection in that Asat Sabha. Why did you also not give me protection in that Asat Sabha? Draupadi asked that question. So therefore, the holy name protecting Draupadi in that Asat Sabha, that comes under the category of Adrishta Phala. Holy name protected Draupadi, but it is Adrishta Phala. Invisibly it protected Draupadi. And then the third category is Drishta Adrishta Phala. This example is Gajendra. When Gajendra chanted the holy name in the form of the prayers, Lord Narayana directly came and in front of his eyes, Lord Narayan actually killed that crocodile and liberated Gajendra from the clutches of the crocodile. This is the Drishta Phala, Drishta part of it. And Adrishta part of that is that Gajendra was taken to Vaikunta. Gajendra being taken to Vaikunta, that is actually Adrishta to the other people over there. They could not directly witness that. But Gajendra was taken to Vaikunta. So Gajendra's case is the example of Drishta Adrishta Phala. And going ahead. So we see that the case of the Yamadutas is that Yamadutas, although they heard the glories of the holy name from the Vishnu Dutas, they considered the glories of the holy name to be an exaggeration. They did not believe in those statements. So there are three examples of those who committed the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration, or those who doubted about the power of the holy name. Three examples are, one example comes here in this episode is the Yamadutas. Another example is actually King Driga. Another example is Gopal Chakravarti in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. King Driga's story I had discussed, I think, some of the previous classes, how King Driga, he was a devotee, but then he considered the glories of bhakti to be an exaggeration. So therefore, he did not put his heart into bhakti, rather he put his heart into karma kanda, because he considered the glories of karma kanda literally. So because he committed the offense of considering the glories of bhakti to be an exaggeration, therefore he had to see Yamaraj. We discussed that previously in the classes. And Gopal Chakravarti also committed this offense. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, there's a beautiful episode between Haridas Thakur and Gopal. Haridas Thakur came to an assembly, and Haridas Thakur spoke about the glories of the holy name. He said the liberation and extinctions of the reactions of sinful life are two byproducts of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Just like the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean. Similarly, the holy name of the Lord, if chanted without offenses, that means in Namabhasa stage, it dissipates all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. So just like as the sun begins to rise, even before it is visible, it dissipates the darkness of night. So similarly, even before the Shuddha Nama appears, even in the stage of a Namabhasa, the chanting can actually produce liberation. The chanting can destroy all the sinful reactions. Just like with the first glimpse of sunlight, fear of the thieves, ghosts, and demons immediately disappears. And when the sun is actually visible, everything is manifest. And everything begins performing. Everyone begins performing his religious activities and regulative duties. So Haridas Thakur said that liberation is an insignificant result derived from Namabhasa. And then he gave the example of Ajamal. And he said, liberation, which is unacceptable for a pure devotee, is always offered by Krishna without difficulty. And then, so there was a discussion with Gopal Chakravarti. This Gopal Chakravarti was a tax collector. He was a very handsome person. He was highly learned and youthful. But he could not tolerate the statement that simply by the Namabhasa, simply by glimpsing the awakening of the Lord's holy name, one can attain liberation. He could not tolerate that statement. So he became very angry upon hearing the statement of Haridas Thakur, and he immediately told Haridas Thakur, in the assembly, just hear the conclusion of this emotional devotee. This Haridas Thakur is a bhavuka, sentimental devotee. Just hear his conclusion, how it is so wrong. Gopal Chakravarti said that after many millions upon millions of births, when one is complete in absolute knowledge, one still may not attain liberation. But this man says that one may attain liberation simply by awakening of a glimpse of the holy name, simply by Namabhasa. Then Haridas Thakur replied, why are you doubtful? the revealed scriptures say that one can attain liberation simply by a glimpse of offenseless chanting of the holy name. So then he said, for a devotee who is enjoying the transcendental bliss of bhakti, liberation is most insignificant. Tvat sakshat karanakhlada vishuddhabdi sthitasya me sukani gospadayante brahman api jagatguru. Since I have directly seen you, O Master of the Universe, since I have directly seen you, my transcendental bliss has taken the shape of a great ocean. And being situated in that ocean, I now realize all the other so-called happiness, including even Brahmananda, to be like the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. Then Gopal Chakravarti said that if one is not liberated simply by Namabhasa, then you may be certain that I shall cut off your nose. Haridas Thakur accepted that challenge, and then he told that if my Namabhasa liberation is not possible, then certainly I shall cut off my nose. He didn't want to harm Gopal Chakravarti. He said, certainly I will cut off my nose. Then all the members of the assembly who heard that challenge, they were greatly agitated. Especially Hiranya Majumdar and Govardhan Majumdar immediately chastised the Gopal Chakravarti. What do you know about the devotional service of Haridas Thakur? You have insulted Haridas Thakur. This will be a dangerous position for you. And Haridas Thakur got up to leave, and then the Govardhan Majumdar, they immediately kicked Gopal Chakravarti out, and then they dismissed him from the service. Unlike like a Srivas Thakur, in the case of Srivas Thakur, when he was offended by others, but when he was offended by the people in that Bhagavad Sapta, but Vakreshwar Pandit did not say anything, did not actually say anything to correct the people who offended Srivas Thakur. But here, Hiranya Majumdar and Govardhan Majumdar immediately corrected and dismissed it. They chastised Gopal Chakravarti. So then Haridas Thakur said that none of you are at fault. Even this ignorant so-called Brahmana, Gopal Chakravarti, is not at fault because he is accustomed to dry speculation and logic. So one cannot understand the glories of the holy name simply by logic and argument. Therefore, this man cannot possibly understand the glories of the holy name. So there are people who are like highly learned in the Nyaya Shastra, Vyakarana, but then I have seen that like they make a fun for all these people who are doing Bhagavad Sapta. They are simply chanting, dancing. What is the use of their katha? They don't teach Sanskrit Vyakarana like that. People actually ridicule actually. So then Hiranya Majumdar returned to his home, and then within 3 days, Gopal Chakravarti was attacked by leprosy. And as a result, his highly raised nose melted away and fell off. And his toes and fingers were beautiful like golden colored champaka buds, but because of leprosy, they all withered and gradually melted away. And everyone was astonished to see the condition of Gopal Chakravarti. And everyone praised Haridas Thakur and his influence. But Haridas Thakur did not take seriously Brahmana's offense. But Supreme Lord could not tolerate it, and therefore the Lord made Gopal Chakravarti suffer the consequences. So Gopal Chakravarti is an example, is second example. One of the first example is King Nriga considering the glories of bhakti to be exaggeration. Gopal Chakravarti is another example for considering the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration. And the third example we see in this episode of Ajamil is that the example of the Yamadutas. They also considered the glories of bhakti to be exaggeration. Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriya, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. This verse comes in the first canto, how Lord Vasudeva is the ultimate object of knowledge. He is all the sacrifice, the purpose of sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All the fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him. And the supreme knowledge and all the severe austerities are performed to know him only. And exactly a similar verse is spoken by Haridas Thakur in Harinam Chintamani. He said, there is no knowledge as pure as the holy name. There is no vow as powerful as the chanting of the holy name. There is no meditation more effective than the holy name. Nor is there any fruit greater than that attained by the holy name. And there is no greater renunciation than chanting the holy name, and there is no greater peace than that obtained through the holy name. And there is no greater pious activity than chanting the holy name, nor is there any goal greater than that achieved by the holy name. For the holy name gives the highest liberation, highest destination, highest peace, and highest abode. And it is the highest form of devotion. And the chanting the holy name is the purest inclination of the jiva. And it is the expression of the highest love. And it is the supreme method of remembrance of the Lord. And the holy name is the cause of all causes, non-different in the Supreme Lord, and is thus most worshipable. So exactly similar to the Bhagavatam verse, Haridas Thakur speaks. So there are many verses in the Shastra which condemn this offense, considering the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration. I mentioned it in one of the previous classes. Vishnu Chakravartipad in the Madhurya Kadambini, he says that when we see the glories of the holy name in the Shastra, so actually the glories of the holy name found in the words of the Shastra are spoken by great devotees are insignificant like a tiny firefly before the sun. Because nobody is capable of fully describing the glories of the holy name. So there is no reason to conjecture that the Shastra's descriptions of these glories are an exaggeration. So that is why Quresh in the Sri Stava, Kuratalwan, Quresh in the Sri Stava, he says that Stotram Nama Kim Amananti Kavayo Yat Anadiyayan Gunan Anyatra Twas Asato Adiropya Fanitissa Tarhi Vandyatvayi Samyak Satyuganabir Yaranam Ato Bruyup Katam Tadrishi Vagvachaspatīnapi Shakya Rachana Tvat Sadguru Sadgunar no Nidau. He says that some poets attribute characteristics present elsewhere as if to be present in the subject. Or if they describe the correct qualities, such utterances are very limited. But in your case, how is such a thing possible? So what he is saying is that sometimes some poets, they glorify some particular object. But what they do is that they attribute characteristic present elsewhere as if it is present in this particular object. So then, such kind of glorification of that object, that is nothing but an exaggeration, because those characteristics are not present in the object in front of them. They are present in somewhere else, but they glorify the object in front of them as if possessing those characteristics. So then those glories are actually exaggeration. So therefore, when the scriptures glorify the devatas or the paths other than bhakti, those those statements are actually exaggeration. Bhagavatam, in one verse in the 11th canto, explains that Vedoktam eva kurvano nisango arpitam ishware naishkarmyam labate siddhim rochanartha falashrutihi. Rochanartha falashrutihi means the material fruitive results offered in the revealed scriptures in the Karma Kanda portion are not the actual goal of Vedic knowledge, but they are meant for stimulating the interest of the performer. When the Karma Kanda position paths are glorified, they are simply meant to stimulate the interest of the performer. Those statements should not be taken literally. They are actually Arthavada. But in the case of the glories of the holy name, glories of the Supreme Lord, when we read the Shastra, actually those glories are insignificant because you can never glorify the Supreme Lord or the devotees or the holy name enough. Whatever you glorify is something an understatement. It is like a tiny firefly before the sun. So what is the cause of this offense of considering the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration? The cause of the offense is that it is because of a person lacks the association of an exalted devotee who properly understand the glories of the holy name. And because of the lack of that association, he commits this offense. So the solution, how to rectify it, is that if the offender gets the association of such a saintly person who is devoted to chanting the holy name and hears the glories of the holy name from his mouth, then his contaminated mind will be purified. So then, taking exclusive shelter of the Nama Prabhu, then this aparadha will be gradually dispelled. So the Ajamil was a sinner but not an offender. But Yamadutas committed this offense of considering the glories of holy name to be Arthavada. So what is Arthavada? So in the Vedic scriptures, there are 5 types of statements: Vidhi, Nisheda, Mantra, Namadeya, and Arthavada. So Vidhi means basically an injunctive statement. Injunctions. Nisheda means prohibition. And Mantra means explanate. Mantra means laudatory or explanatory passages. No, mantra means basically a specific mantras will be given. And Namadeya means particular names of the yajnas will be mentioned. Oh, this is a Soma Yaga, this is a Darsha Paurnamasa Yaga. And then there is Arthavada. Arthavada means laudatory statements, are those statements which glorify, which speak about the glories. For example, the Taittiriya Samhita, there is a statement: one desirous of wealth should sacrifice a horse to the Vasudeva. This is a Vidhi statement. One should sacrifice a horse to the wind god. But in another part of the same Samhita, there is a statement: Vasudeva is glorified as that Vayu is glorified so that one might be prone to worship him. There is a statement which says that Vayu is indeed the swiftest of the gods. So this statement is an Arthavada statement. So in this statement, Vayu is glorified. So this statement implies that Vayu will quickly reward his worshippers. And this will in turn incite the people to sacrifice a horse for Vayu. Because this statement has such a motive, that this statement of glorification of the wind god is also included in the category of Arthavada. So normally, like there is in this world, the principle like to achieve anything in this world, you have to work hard. The Niti says that Udyamena hi siddhyanti karyani na manorataihi nahi suktasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mriga. That means the works are accomplished only through efforts and not by entertaining desires. Simply by desiring, you cannot achieve anything in this world. Or what we say that you cannot simply build a castle in the air. You cannot build a castle simply by daydreaming. You have to really work hard to achieve something. Even a lion has to work hard in order to get its prey. It has to go on hunting. No animal will voluntarily come and enter the mouth of the lion. Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe murga. Even a lion has to work hard. But then, when we read the statements of about the glories of the holy name, there is hardly any effort involved in chanting the holy name. Krishna, Rama, Hare Krishna. But then the result mentioned, one will be purified of the sins in so many lifetimes, crores of lifetimes. So these glories of the holy name seem to be opposite to this principle mentioned in the Niti Shastra, that simply by daydreaming you cannot achieve anything. You have to work hard. So therefore people consider the glories of the holy name to be Arthavada. So, but actually they are not Arthavada. So what is the reasoning given by the Jiva Goswami to show that how they are not Arthavada? He says that generally any Arthavada statement is always subordinate or supplementary to the Vidhi Vakya. Any Arthavada is supplementary to the subordinate to the Vidhi Vakya. So the Vidhi, this Vidhi could be for chanting itself or for some other imperative. So there are no statements regarding the holy name that its chanting forms part of a separate Vidhi. If on the other hand, the Vidhi is chanting itself, then there is no difference between the injunction to chant and the eulogy of chanting, as both are direct statements recommending one to chant. So normally any Arthavada is subordinate to a Vidhi Vakya. So in the case of the statements glorifying the chanting of the holy name, you don't find a separate Vidhi Vakya under whom the glories of the holy name is subordinate. So therefore, that Vidhi is chanting itself. And there is no difference between the injunction to chant and the eulogy of chanting, because both are direct statements recommending one to chant. And moreover, any injunction that recommends the performance of an activity and directly states its benefits should not be considered as Arthavada. In the case of the chanting, the statement of the chanting recommends chanting, at the same time directly states its benefits. So it should not be considered as Arthavada. So therefore, like in this world also we see one spark of fire can bring a great result. One invisible virus can produce great result. Similarly, one chanting of the holy name can produce great result. So I'll mention few points from Harinam Chintamani regarding this offense. They are interesting. So Haridas Thakur says that why it is difficult to put faith in the statements glorifying the chanting of the holy name. The reason is that a person does not have bhakti sukriti. If one does not have bhakti sukriti, then one will not have faith in the principles of bhakti. So the key is that bhakti sukruti is lacking. So without the bhakti sukruti, there is no taste for the holy name, and there is also no faith in the shastric descriptions of the holy name. And Haridas Thakur says that one should not be attached to only one part of the Shastra. So those people without Bhakti Sukruti, they may read the Shastra, but they are not attached to the part of the Shastra which describe the glories of the holy name. Therefore, those who are attached to only one part of the scriptures cannot understand the real purport of the scriptures. So there are people who only study one part of the Vedic scriptures. They only study Vyakarana. They only study Nyaya. They may not have faith in the Vedanta. They may not have faith in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Haridas Thakur says that the praises of Karma Kanda are actually exaggeration, but the praises of the holy name are not exaggeration. Because in the Karma Kanda process, there is an actual motive involved. A person performs the Karma Kanda Yajna with a motive to achieve something. So there is an explicit selfishness involved. The sponsor of the sacrifice asks for material results. But in glorifying the holy name, there is no room for chanting. There is no room for false pretense or exaggeration, because there is no selfish motive involved. When a guru is giving the holy name to another person, one does not expect material results for oneself or the person receiving that holy name. When a guru is giving the holy name to a faithful person, one simply makes that person as the servant of Krishna. So therefore, it is without material motivation, personal motivation. It is only for the pleasure of Krishna. So therefore, the praises of the holy name are not exaggeration, because there is no selfish motivation involved. But in the praises of Karma Kanda, there are exaggeration, because there is explicit selfish motivation involved. And what is the actual purpose of Karma Kanda? The actual purpose of Karma Kanda is that one should perform Karma Kanda without the interest in the material results. Then one's heart will become purified. And then when one's heart is purified, one will develop interest in the non-material goal. And then gradually that interest will become stronger. And then when he gets the association of a devotee, a taste for, he will develop faith in the holy name, and a taste for chanting of the holy name will result. So therefore, the end result of Karma Kanda is a taste for holy name. So that is why we see in the Bhagavatam, two authorities spoke about the importance of the glories of the holy name. One is Narada Muni, idam hi pumsas tapasas shrutasya va, swishtasya suktasya cha buddhi dattayor, avichutorta kavibir nirupito yaduttama shloka gunanu varnanam. The unfailing cause of success for tapasya, chanting of the Vedic mantras and different vratas is nothing but the chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. And the same conclusion is also spoken by Shukracharya. He said that Shukracharya said, mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalaka vastunaha sarvam karoti nishchidram anusankirtanam tava. All the faults in the chanting of the mantras, tantras will be taken care by chanting of the holy name. So therefore, the results of the holy name are far beyond that which can be obtained by wandering the 14 planets. Just by Namabhasa, one can obtain all the results of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So then Haridas Thakur says that one who doubts the effects of the name mentioned in the Shastra is the lowest of men, and by his doubting he commits this offense, and this leads him to certain ruin. Just like a verse is there in the Skanda Puran, Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adau Antau Cha Madhyeta Hari Sarvatra Giyate. In the beginning, middle, and end, in the Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Purana, only Lord Hari is glorified. Similarly, Haridas Thakur says that in the Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and in the Puranas, in the beginning, middle, and end, only the Lord Hari's holy name is glorified. And then he said that what is the result of actually, then he says, just like because holy name is not different from Krishna, and because Krishna is Shaktiman, holy name is also Shaktiman. So the Lord has invested all his energies and the results in the all his energies in the holy name. But in Karma Kanda, the Lord has invested only his material energy. And in Jnana Kanda, Lord has invested only his impersonal energy. But in the holy name, he has invested all his energies and all the results. And what is the remedy if a person has committed this offense of considering the glory, the holy name to be Arthavada? So Haridas Thakur says the remedy for this offense is that with the straw in one's mouth, one should humbly go before the assembly of the Vaishnavas and reveal his offense at their lotus feet, begging sincerely for forgiveness. And the devotees of the Lord, conversant with the glories of the holy name, will mercifully forgive him and embrace him. The offense of thinking that the glories of the holy name are exaggeration, which arise from the deceptions of material consciousness, will not occur again. And then another point Haridas Thakur says is that if one happens to talk with one of these offenders, one should immediately, with one's clothes on, bathe in the Ganga. If Ganga water is not available, one should bathe fully clothed in any other body of water. If no water is available, one should perform mental bath for purification. In this way, he gives different points about remedy for a person who has committed the chanting, was committed this offense. So with this, I will end here. Today, we discussed briefly about the beginning part of this chapter, and we compared something between Parishit Maharaj, the Yamadutas, and Ajamil. Yamadutas hearing from Vishnudutas, and Vishnudutas hearing from Yamaraj. We discussed about that. And then later we discussed some points in relation to the considering the glories of holy name to be exaggerated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you so much for this very beautiful class on the holy name and different levels, different grades of mistakes people have on the holy name. It was really helpful, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much. I request Balaram Prasad Prabhuji, you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Radhika Vallabha, very nice. As you always do, a very packed class. So much preparation. I don't know how you all do this, Prabhu. Really grateful to you. I was because Prabhu, just now few minutes ago you said the people who are not able to chant properly don't have the Bhakti Sukruti. So I was thinking, in spite of being in this moment for some certain years, still I don't have the taste for chanting. So is that the reason because I don't have a Bhakti Sukruti? That's one question. It's just a thought of asking you. And then how do we, not everybody has Bhakti Sukruti, right? Now, how do we think that, nobody will have the Bhakti Sukruti to chant even the holy name? then how do you even get the Bhakti Sukruti? Correct, no?
Yeah. Yeah. That is why, see, in all of us case, I also don't have taste for chanting the holy name. All of us definitely go through struggle, different aspects of our life. So that is why the Shastras recommend that the reason that we are not having the taste, we are not having the attraction, because there is definitely some offenses we may be committing. At least we should safer to think like that. Sometimes a person may not be committing offenses, but still the holy name will not manifest the results immediately. Holy name may manifest the results in due course of time. Yesterday I was discussing, Krishna Chapatipad mentions in a purport that just like a fruit, a tree bears fruit in due course of time. So similarly, holy name will give its fruit in due course of time. Even if a person is chanting the holy name offenselessly, sometimes the holy name, the Lord will give the result in due course of time, because the Lord is independent. But in many cases, we may be committing some offenses, therefore we are not having the taste for it. So the solution is that we continue to stick to the process. That is why the Shastras recommend about the repetition of the devotional activities. So we continue to perform devotional activities, and then we accumulate more and more Bhakti Sukruti, and that will help us to develop more and more faith. So we don't have to, the fact is, we don't have taste for the chanting of the holy name. But at the same time, let us understand it, and let us stick to the process, and we should put faith, and then definitely Krishna's reciprocation. Krishna never fails in his reciprocation. Even though we may be chanting since many years, we are not having the taste. But many times Krishna does not reciprocate in order to increase our interest, in order to increase our hankering. And that is what Krishna says in the Bhagavatam. He told Narada Muni, in order to increase your hankering, in this life you will not be able to see me again. He told the gopis that I disappeared from you in the middle because I wanted to increase your love for me. The same way, the sadhakas also, in order to increase our hankering, sometimes Krishna does not give the taste immediately. We have to wait for many years.
Okay, Prabhu, at least, I say, suppose I came to a consciousness. But the second question I asked was, not everybody has, but see, in spite of coming, yes, we are struggling. But people who are not even, they don't know anything about the holy name or anything. Of course, they know Krishna, they know, but they don't know that in the Kali age of Kali, that's the only, the Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. They don't even know that. Then how do we, that means I'm a beginner, right? So I don't have Bhakti Sukruti at all. Then is that a causeless mercy of the devotees, or then how does the Bhakti Sukruti comes in? Because we don't have, not even a little bit we have taste of chanting.
But we may not have taste of chanting, but the fact is that you are continuing to chant. You are continuing to hear patiently about the holy name. That shows that you have Bhakti Sukruti. It's not that you don't have Bhakti Sukruti. The fact that you are asking these questions, you are patiently heard this class, that definitely shows that you have faith. That definitely shows you have Bhakti Sukruti. When the Bhakti Sukruti increases further, then we will get further taste for the holy name. And as regards to the common people who don't have the faith, it is our responsibility, according to our capacity, we make them perform we make them accumulate some bhakti sukriti, knowingly or unknowingly. So that by giving them prasadam or gradually developing their faith in the Shastra, and then gradually encouraging them to chant, or by our behavior, when they appreciate the behavior of the devotees, they accumulate bhakti sukriti. In that way, we can make others accumulate bhakti sukriti. In your case, that definitely you have bhakti sukriti. You are continuing to chant since so many years and hearing. And when the bhakti sukriti increases further and the offenses reduce, then definitely taste will also come.
So for the beginners, even in the family, they would have seen me. They're doing all these practices, but they don't even think about doing it. Okay. So what is for a outsider? So how do we make them a little bit of bhakti sukritis, at least invite to the temple, give them prasadam, give them whatever. In that way, they'll slowly get some based on the appreciation. I just remember, I think in the 5th canto, we were thinking about canto, maybe some earlier cantos. When first or second canto probably, when we think about even the nature, forest, oh my God, scenery, such a beautiful, my God, who did this? Who created this? Amazingly, who is the creator of all this? So that means person who even says that means is meeting the creator.
Yes.
He doesn't know. That means even there also he might get some sukriti. What do you think, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that beautiful question. So the Krishna Prabhuji, ask a question now.
Radhika Vallabha Prabhu, so nice to see you. Sukasar Kachidas from Chennai. Prabhu, the class is as usual excellent, so detailed you are talking. So when we attend the class, we become very enthusiastic. So we think that we have to do like this. But when we start the chanting, somehow it doesn't happen. When we read Prabhupada's lectures, we hear there's so much that from tomorrow I will do like this. But it doesn't happen. Some other priority comes, not material, spiritually only. Some classes to be done, this to be done. So that 2 hours not able to just hear the sound properly. That is one point. And now you told about Narada Muni, the Supreme Lord said that you have seen me now this life you have to get to tapasya. And he got a direct confirmation from God. And similarly, you told about gopis, that Krishna was with them last Leela, they just left and said, now you have to wait for me. So in our case, there is no direct talk, but only through Bhagavatas, like you have spoken. So I can take it as Krishna has spoken through Radhika Prabhu, like that. So this is a message for me. Should I take it like that, or how do we get that, that taste, Prabhu? Already 29 years over initiation, still not getting that some Shuddha Nama not coming at all. So getting sometimes frustrated that not able to do with full enjoyment. I mean, in the sense, blissfully.
Yeah, Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyat. That's what I can say. Rupa Goswami says that we have to be enthusiastic and we have to be patient. Sometimes it is good to think that good to be aware that I don't have the taste, this one. But at the same time, all the time, we don't have to keep thinking about that. We can think in how we can actually reach out to more people, how we can preach more people, because that is a much more quicker way to get taste. Because when we try to we try to chant as attentively as possible, definitely sometimes we fall asleep, our minds wander. Definitely all this happens even after many decades. Let us do that. But beyond that, let us also try to increase our efforts to say preach more, and by that actually we can attract the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a more profound way. So I would say that the more quicker way, the profound way to get taste for the chanting of the holy name is that Vaishnava Seva and Jive Daya. That part also we actually proportionately put effort, especially Jive Daya. All are important. Vaishnava Seva, Jive Daya, all are interconnected. But we don't have to think all the time that oh, I don't have taste. Let us be absorbed in actually reaching out more. And definitely Krishna is like Krishna never fails in his reciprocation, and he will give at the appropriate time. He can fast forward and give everything. Like you may be in Anartha Nivriti for the past 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. But after 50 years, he may fast forward from Anartha Nivriti to Prema immediately also. So it can be possible.
But give them, I'm doing every day. When I go to the temple, 2-3 people I talk and give them the link, they come for the chanting, then slowly call for Bhakta Sangha, like that I'm doing. But that is not, but I don't know, some other aparad, I don't know what's happened, Prarabdha Karma or something. It's not that, like keep on chanting, that's not happening.
No problem.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, there is one question in the chat. How to develop submissive mood, especially one who is neophyte? Could you please give example too?
To develop submissive mood, some of the questions like how to develop this mood. Like only when we understand this mood, when we understand the importance, and then we actually try to act on that. So now, say submissive mood is developed when you understand the glory of a particular object or a person. Then you develop a submissive mood. When you understand the glory of a person, and when we understand our own insignificance. When these two things are there, then you naturally develop a submissive mood. So we understand now, we are, as a spirit soul, we are 1/10,000 of a tip of a hair. So we are actually too insignificant. And when we read the Shastra, we definitely hear about the glories of the Lord, the devotees, or the chanting of the holy name. So glories are directly in front of us. So when you are conscious of these two facts, then the natural result of that is that one will develop a submissive mood.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. There is one more question in that only. Yes.
Impersonal energy is manifest in Jnana Kanda. That's what Haridas Thakur says. In Jnana Kanda, the Lord's impersonal energy is invested, because Jnana Kanda mainly talks about the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth, and to some extent Paramatma aspect and Bhagavan aspect. It mainly talks about the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. So maybe that's why Haridas Thakur is saying that the Lord's impersonal energy is invested in the Jnana Kanda.
So how it is seen, I think, like can they see the impersonal form or something? Itself is an impersonal.
By nature, impersonal means you can't see. So that's why we hear from the Shastra, impersonal energy is manifest in the Jnana Kanda.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Some things you cannot see, you have to just accept the words of the Shastra.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, could you please give some inputs on submissive attitude, how to develop that instead of mood, because that is very high level, I guess.
That's
so at least at a neophyte.
That's what I mentioned. Submissive attitude, when we understand our insignificant position, we are 1/10,000 of a tip of a hair. And then when we understand the other people, the holy name or the Guru or the Supreme Lord or other devotees, when we understand, when we focus on their good qualities, when they understand their glories, the natural result is there will be submissiveness. So many of these questions, how to develop, the only answer is that we have to develop actually, because it is like there is no like you switch on a particular thing and then the light will glow like that. The answers to some of these questions, like how to become humble, how to tolerate, how to develop submissive attitude, for these questions, the answer I feel is that the only answer is that we have to develop that, or we have to become humble, or we have to tolerate. So that essentially comes from the accumulating Sambandha Jnana and being conscious of the Sambandha Jnana. Then the natural result of the Sambandha Jnana is that you develop submissiveness.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
So
so
we'll
there are,
stop here.
yes, Prabhuji, there are like just few comments by Jan and Gaurahari Prabhu and Shiromani Mataji. They are thanking for the wonderful class, and Preeti Vilasni Mataji also thanks, like nice impactful class, Prabhuji, very deep provoking class about the holy name. I really need to introspect my true faith in holy name. Thanks for that.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada. Very, very wonderful class, Prabhuji, and very power packed, and so many examples and very beautiful notes. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Even though you don't have time, you came on the call and you give so much time, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for your patient attention and for engaging me in this service.
Let's pray. Prabhuji, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavo Namaha. Shri Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada
Adi ki jai.
Radhika Prabhuji ki Jai. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class.
Gauranga. Radhe Radhe.